Hello, everybody. Welcome. This is the inaugural show here on the In the Money Network, only on YouTube. Check us out. This is Around the Turn. I am your host, Stu from the Stewcast. Cheap plug. Check it out. Google Machine Podcast, wherever you get it. Check it out. Last one of those for the show. This is a different kind of handicapping show. We're going to have a lot of fun going over the pick three here at Belmont. We'll get to the rules in a moment. It's really about the guests. I'm just a magnanimous person, so I want to highlight the guests. We're going to start with the guy coming off a great weekend at Santa Anita. He came in 139th in the contest. He's really trying to break 100. Tyler Hoffman.
Hey, what's going on? Thank you for that warm introduction, and thanks for bringing up my big donut I put up at Santa Anita on Memorial Day.
Well, you're nothing but a professional. No one would say anything else. Our next guest, he's the assistant producer to the Timeform US podcast, Pace podcast. It's fantastic what David Aragona does. And you do a great job producing, Craig Milkowski.
Yeah, it's a tough job carrying David through not one, but two podcasts a week. But somehow I'm able to do it. I do the best I can. But yeah, he pulls his weight most of the time.
Well, thank you for joining us. And you're sitting in a chair, which, you know, with your military service and who you serve for, makes sense. And then finally, this guy is one of my dear friends. He just got done taking a big Jose. He wiped his Altuve. He's Nick Tammaro.
So I see that it's my third time on with you, and this is the first time you've had something disparaging to say. You're like the guy who farts on an airplane a couple of times, thinks he gets away with it, and then you just stay with it.
That's not disparaging. I've never said anything disparaging toward you to your face. So here's the rules of the game. It's kind of like around the horn. Each one of our guests are going to get one horse for 3 races. They can't pick the same horse. I divvy out the points. That's pretty much it. Even Tyler Hoffman with that California education can get it. So speaking of which, we're going to let him go first. Producer Craig, this is where we would start with zeros, but Nick was late. He gets minus 27. So if you can just put minus 27 for Nick, I think he can make it up. He's a contest player. Some our first guest here. Tyler wouldn't know about. Tyler, the Met Mile. Who's your horse?
I'm going to go with the rail runner, Mischievous Alex, because I know one of these two guests are going to go with Nick's go, and I don't want to be on that Dubai bounce. I don't want anything to do with it. I don't want to play with it. I don't want the even money, 4 to 5, whatever he goes off at. I think Mischievous Alex is going to sit a great trip. I loved his win in the Carter. He should stock right behind Nick's go, and I think he's set for a prime performance off the freshening. That's where I'm going.
All right, Craig Milkowski.
Well, Tyler made it pretty easy because he picked the horse that I absolutely hate in here, Mischievous Alex, and he left the obvious winner for me in Nick's go. I'm a guy who never really believes in that Dubai bounce. I'm a speed figure guy, of course, and he's got a good 10-point advantage on the field, and I think this one's going to be a laugher, personally.
And finally, Nick Tammaro, he's shaking his head. Where are you going here?
I mean, I'm pressed into the horse, so actually I'm going to pick on top, Silver State. I think Nick's go is the horse to beat pretty clearly. I think it's worth noting that Mischievous Alex, who I thought was really impressive in the Carter, but Mike Welsh has reported numerous times he's not training as well as he was prior to the Carter, so we'll see a little bit more on the Clocker report. Nick's go is clearly the horse to beat. I like Silver State, who seems to have kind of a nose for the wire. Obviously, Asmussen knows how to win this race, and I've always felt like he might be a little bit better around one turn, but look, there's no doubt he's going to have to elevate his game significantly if the Knicks go that we saw a couple of times last year and in the Pegasus shows up.
All right, points time. Tyler, you disparaged a Middle Eastern country. That's a negative point. That's tough. We don't do that here. Craig, you disparaged Tyler. That is a point. Nick, you get 28 points because you actually picked the horse that's going to win. Next, we move on. Race 10, the Manhattan. Craig's favorite drink. So we're going to start with you, sir.
Honestly, couldn't even tell you what a Manhattan is. Don't think I've ever had one, but I would give it a shot because that's how I roll. But in here, I think I got to go against Colonel Liam, who I assume will be the favorite. I'm going to go with the logical alternative in domestic spending. I thought he ran fabulous, even though he dead heated in the Turf Classic with Colonel Liam. I think he was a couple lengths the best. The pace was pretty slow that day, and he was able to make up the ground anyway. He gets a little more ground here. I think he's going to get a little more pace. And for me, he's clearly the horse to beat. And if the bettors make Colonel Liam the favorite, I think they have the wrong one.
All right, Nick Tammaro.
Yeah, I mean, I like domestic spending as well, but for the sake of keeping it around the turn, I'll go with Gufo, who I thought maybe needed the race last time. He ran well in the Man of War. I thought he was going to be able to cut down Channel Cat in the stretch and came up just a little bit short. This is a horse that's been in the frame now in 4 straight races, having won the Belmont Derby, but also being in the mix in the Saratoga Derby and the Hollywood Derby, and most recently that Man of War. So he's a horse that'll be moved here instead of racing at Monmouth over the weekend. That would heat things up early. That would definitely help Gufo.
All right, Tyler Hoffman, where are you going?
Well, first off, I'm in agreement with both of the other guests on this show. I think domestic spending is the horse to beat in here. I thought, echo what Craig said, the trip that domestic spending had last time is actually more impressive the more times you watch the replay. Not only was there a slow pace, but in terms of typical turf trips, it was wide and uncovered, had to go through a very narrow opening between horses at the top of the stretch, then had to angle out late and still got there to end up in a dead heat with Colonel Liam. A repeat of that performance with slightly less obstacles, and I think he no doubt wins outright over Colonel Liam. But for the sake of the show, I'm going to go with the pricing here. The number 7, Channel Cat, who just beat Nick's horse last time, Gufo, in the Grade 1 Man of War. I think Channel Cat's finally woken up. I think he's going to sit a good trip. We've seen that speed has been pretty good at Belmont thus far throughout the meet. I see Channel Cat sitting a trip, probably sitting second or third in here. I think he'll be a big number on the board, and I liked how game he was last time. So I think he's sharp, and I think he can outrun his odds.
And the one thing I'd say about Channel Cat is I'm the kind of guy, if he's not on the lead or going for it this time, I'll start pulling some of the little bit of hair I have left out, because he's clearly shown he's a horse that needs a lead. He runs best when he's on the lead. But for some reason, they take him off a lot. I hope he's up there for you, and he's certainly going to offer some value.
All right, points time. Tyler, you spent more time talking about Craig's horse than you did your own, -1 point. -2, you can still, you're used to working out of a hole. Nick, I think Gufo is probably the way to go. If you're going to go against domestic spending, you get a point. And then Craig, you pick the horse that's going to win, so you get a point. So
Wait,
we got it.
I have a question. Can I ask a question? Is that allowed on this show?
After the show's done.
It's done.
Yeah. What's your question?
One quick question. Nick, Gufo, are you any concerns with him running on a little bit of a softer turf course, obviously with rain in the forecast?
It's raining right now. I can tell you that. It's raining relatively hard. I'm not overly concerned. I think by 5 o'clock or so on Saturday, there's supposed to be a lot of sunshine on Saturday. So I don't think it's going to be a big impact. Race like the New York tomorrow could be a problem. But I'm not terribly worried. And I think a lot of times we rate our turf courses so inaccurately. I think some of these horses have run on courses that are probably wetter than we thought or drier than we thought. So I'm not going to be overly concerned with it, but I mean, I understand if somebody wants to be.
It's a fair point. Stay tuned to our friend Marshall Sterling. He's a resident weatherman, even though he gets it wrong like 75% of the time.
Best profession in the world. It's better than being a public handicapper. You can be wrong 80% of the time.
Yeah, he is wrong a lot, but
yeah,
he will have some
75%.
information.
He's near the top of his profession.
That's what I'm saying. That's why
I root for him to say it's going to rain, because I feel like that's generally a good thing.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Nick, that's an extra point because you brought up a really good point. So you're at 3 now. All right.
I think with love for Marshall Sterling.
All right, let's go to the main event, the Belmont. Nick Tammaro, it's your turn. Who's going to pay us the money?
My turn, right, in the race that I think it's the hardest one to have an opinion of the big ones. I'm going to pick Hot Rod Charlie, who I thought, all things considered, had a good trip in the Derby and was certainly in position turning for home. He hung just like Essential Quality did. The Belmont is a galloper's race. It's it's a race designed for forwardly placed horses. I think Flavien Prat is going to ride him aggressively out of the gate, look to his right coming out and see what Rock Your World's doing. And if the lead is there for the taking, I think he's going to take it. And I think that makes him very, very dangerous. I like pretty much everything this horse has done in terms of running style and the way he can handle dynamics for this type of objective. So I'm going to end up landing on Hot Rod Charlie.
Tyler Hoffman, can you get into positive numbers here?
Yeah, I can. I don't think Hot Rod Charlie wants to go a mile and a half. I'm going to have Flavien Prat on Hot Rod Charlie. Look to his right. You can see Joel Rosario send Rock Your World. Rock Your World will clear off, take the lead, and never look back. So I'm on the 7. Rock Your World wire to wire, baby.
Okay. Craig, let these two young whippersnappers know who's boss, who's your pick.
I'm going to show you how versatile I am, because everywhere I've been and in DRF, I picked Rock Your World. But I can veer if somebody throws me a curveball like Tyler did. And I'm going to go with Rombauer, the Preakness winner. He did absolutely nothing wrong. He's a horse who's improved his speed figure in the Timeform US PPs every single time he's run, up to a 122 last time. Of all the main contenders outside of maybe Rock Your World, I think he's the one that's more likely to love a mile and a half, whereas I don't really think Hot Rod Charlie wants that at all. A little bit dubious about its essential quality also, so I'm going to take Rombauer.
Oh, no, it's a round.
All right. It's finals time. Nick, you came in leading, but you picked a dressed up horse. 0 points. You're still in the lead, though. Tyler, I like the shade you were throwing at Nick. 2 points. You end up with 0. And Craig, I just love the fact that you literally have picked every single horse on other platforms. And to round it out, I think that's just great. So because you have the winner somewhere, maybe not this show, you get 2 points and the victory. The inaugural champion, Craig Milkowski. Folks, tune in next week. We're going to do this again. Craig and Nick Tammaro are busy men, and they're important. Tyler will be back, though. He's got nothing going. So for me, Stu, hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you next week.